over. We're heading into the first weekend of November. That means a couple of things. Candy's on sale at the store. You need to get your Thanksgiving meal finalized. It's time to deck the halls, and somebody needs to start playing the Mariah Carey music. It also means daylight saving time comes to an end. Set your clocks back 1 hour before going to bed, Saturday, November 2nd. In many cases, this means your car is actually going to be where it's supposed to be, or it's going to be an hour off. Let's all be honest. Nobody ever actually moves the clock inside their car. Time changes at 2 a.m. Central on Sunday, November 3rd. Let's compare sunrises and sunsets because they're, of course, going to change somewhat drastically. Sunrise on Saturday is going to be at 7:08 a.m. Sunset on Saturday is going to be 5:50 p.m. But look at this. Compare that to where we're going to be on Sunday. Sunrise is going to be at 6:09 a.m. Yes, you early risers on Sunday, heading out to Sunday service. I know there's some services that start early in the morning. Yeah, the sun is probably going to be up. Maybe that makes getting up in the morning a little bit easier. But look at sunset. It is going to be at 4:50 p.m. on Sunday. Essentially, that's going to be Sunday afternoon. And I don't know about y'all, but that always comes as a bit of a shock to me, knowing that it's going to be completely and totally dark by the time we get to like 5:30. But there has been an attempt to do away with daylight saving time here over the last several years. Now, it just hasn't really gone all that well. The Sunshine Protection Act was introduced into both the House and the Senate earlier in 2023 by both Marco Rubio and Vern Buchanan. The bill would essentially get rid of the concept of daylight saving time, thus ending the act of moving our clocks twice a year. We would just stick with one standard all year. Unfortunately, the bill never moved further than being introduced into both the House and the Senate, and that was as of October 29th, 2024. So as of right now, we're going to stick with the status quo. But what is the major complaint with the whole concept of moving clocks twice a year? At the end of the day, it's not an overly complicated task to do, especially in 2024, where technology, in a lot of cases, moves the clock for you. The only thing you have to worry about is your car, maybe the stove, maybe the microwave, things like that still need manually changed. But in a lot of cases, we have technology to move the clocks for us, but there's still a complaint. In general, moving clocks twice a year still seems like a bit of an annoying task. The early sunset, when daylight saving time ends, tends to be somewhat depressing. People don't like it when it gets dark at 4:45 in the afternoon, and the earliest sunset we get across North Alabama, southern Middle Tennessee, ends up being right around 4:35 or 4:36. People don't like that. Just in general, it's depressing. And yes, you could argue that the sun comes up early, but a lot of people are still asleep and therefore not taking advantage of that. Let's run through a couple of hypothetical situations. If we keep daylight saving time, the good, sunset will never be before 5 p.m. So if we were to just permanently stay with daylight saving time, sunset is never going to be before 5 p.m., which I think a lot of people would find some good in that. There is, however, a drawback. Let's talk about that. For 89 days during the period December through February, sunrise is going to be incredibly late. It's going to be somewhere between 7:30 and 8 o'clock in the morning. Now think about that for a minute. Kids are going to be off to school. In many cases, you're going to be out the door to work and maybe even at work already before the sun ever even comes up. So the mornings are going to be a whole lot darker, and that could make getting up and at them in the morning much more of a challenge. Yes, the sun is never going to set before 5 p.m., but again, between December and February, sunrise is going to be really late, between 7:30 and 8 o'clock in the morning. If we were to keep standard time, what we're getting ready to enter, this one is a little more tricky. So I'm going to take you again through the hypothetical scenarios, but it's potentially neither good nor bad. This one, I think, is a little more relative. Let's talk about sunrise, shall we? For 98 days between May and August, sunrise would be before 5 o'clock in the morning. Imagine that, if you will, for just a second. The sun is going to come up before 5 a.m. Now, this could be a really big benefit for us here across the Tennessee Valley especially. Look at the time range here for 98 days between May and August. So essentially, we're talking about peak summer across the Tennessee Valley, right? Afternoons have the potential to be a little more comfortable since we achieve peak heating much earlier in the day. Normally we achieve our peak heating 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Now we're going to achieve peak heating 11 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock in the afternoon. So maybe the later part of the afternoon is going to end up being a little more comfortable. And then we keep that same stat for 98 days between May and August. Sunrise would be before 5 p.m. Sunset, however, is never going to be after 8 o'clock p.m. during the summer. So it's a bit of a trade-off there. Sunrise is going to be before 5 a.m., but sunset is never going to be after 8 o'clock at night. So those summer evenings are going to come to an end rather quickly. Let's talk about sunset. For 284 days, sunset would be after 5 p.m. And that sounds really good. Sunset is going to be after 5 p.m. But here's the thing. And again, this is if we kept standard time. Compare this to the 295 days where the sunset is after 5 p.m. that we have with the current arrangement. So it's really kind of tricky. There isn't a right answer. At the end of the day, it ends up being more of a matter of personal opinion. So let's go through those sunset times as we finish off the rest of the year. November 4th, sunset is going to be at 4:49 p.m. By November 18th, 4:39. By December 2nd, look at that. We're talking about a sunset of 4:35 p.m. Now, once we get past the winter solstice, the sun is going to begin to set a little bit later. By December 16th, 4:37 p.m. By the time we get to December 30th, the sun is going to set at 4:45 p.m. Let's look at the sunrise times as well. November 4th, the sun is going to come up 6:10 a.m. By the time we get to November 18th, 6:23 a.m. December 2nd, 6:36 a.m., continuing to get a little bit later here. By the time we get to December 16th, 6:47 a.m., and then by the time we get to December 30th, sunrise is going to be just shy of 7 o'clock in the morning.